2, 3. We are live! Hooray. Probably today it's gonna be just the two of us. It's Nicholas. Nick? How do you
Nick.
call yourself? Nick or Nicholas?
Nick is fine.
Nick?
I've been called many names before.
Yeah. On GitHub and on Slack, you're called Nick. On Google Hangouts, you're called Nicholas.
Yeah, that's the proper name.
Yeah.
Nicola.
We were just chatting about Docker, having a lot of headache with when you start to install firewalls that interfere with your Docker setup. That was my afternoon, and you had also never worked on Docker before. And this is actually a nice transition to what I was working on the weekend. Have you seen the recent pull requests, Nick?
I might have. I'm not sure. Which one are you talking about?
Maybe you just want to open your browser, share a screen, and we'll see.
Sounds good. Let's see. Share that screen. Yeah.
In the meantime, I will merge certain pull requests.
What happened to my mouse? Why is it disappearing? My mouse just disappeared on me.
Oh, really? I think I can see it.
Really? Yeah. I can't.
The mouse is now on the right side of your browser. Now it's
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
It disappears. Oh, that's no good. Let me try canceling the screen share and restarting it. Yeah, still no good.
Yeah, I just merged a couple of pull requests while you were busy with your mouse.
All right, we'll do it this way. This is working.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you can see my screen?
I do.
All right. So, yeah. There was a specific pull request you're referring to?
Yeah. Well, I was working on helping out Faith. I think she was working on that one exactly.
Okay.
But the problem here is we want to send us. With this pull request, we start to send out emails from time to time for the very first time. So she wants to send out a notification. She's using email as a notification, and it should happen whenever a new broadcast is saved in the database. All right.
Okay.
And the problem here was how to get everything wired together. And I think she was using a letter opener for catching the email sent out in development environment.
Okay.
And I was suggesting and implementing a particular service that deals with it, which is called Mailhog.
Okay. Yeah, I did see this PR. It's pretty, sounds like a neat feature to work on.
It is. Actually, it's not done. It's not done yet. When I try to help people out on things like this, like setting up dependencies, configuring services, and so on, I really try to make my best to leave some tests, some software tests indicating the right direction.
Okay.
Right? So if you would, for example, check out that pull request and send out a mail manually, for example, maybe look in the files changed. I can't quite remember actually what is in the controller right now. Yeah, a couple of dependencies, of course. Maybe you go to the broadcast controller. Yeah, I think this is it, broadcast controller. And for now, I just added user mailer. I think you passed it already. You can also search for it, Control or Command F, broadcast controller. Yeah, or like that.
There you go.
So whenever a broadcast is saved, you should just say user mailer and then something. And here was the catch, like the setup thing here was how to understand how mailers work, to understand how this deliver later works, how to set up Sidekick in a way that things are delivered, and so on and so on. So have you ever tried to send mails with Rails?
I've done it once before in a tutorial.
How did you do it? Like, what protocol did you use, and did you use deliver later?
Did it with Rails 5. Don't they have something like built in Rails 5?
Yeah, so they have Action Mailer, which is built in, and they have a method called deliver later, which is also which happens also to be built in.
Okay.
You can see it in the new changes. Maybe you can highlight it with your mouse.
Yeah, I see it.
Exactly. So it works like that. You have a class user mailer. This class has some class method, ask for stuff, which expects certain parameters, and then you say deliver later. And that will create a backend job, which is processed asynchronously. We had asynchronous jobs in the past, but we didn't use it for sending out mail yet.
Okay.
So here was the setup thing involved. We had to configure Sidekick in a way that will also deliver those jobs created by Action Mailer. And the problem here is that I had to find out that Sidekick has a queue which is called default. Action Mailer enqueues the mail job in a queue called mailer. So when you start Sidekick, you have to tell Sidekick, please execute all jobs in the queue default and execute all the jobs in the queue mailers. And you can see it, for example, when you go into the Docker compose file, or if you check out the proc file changes. They were in the very top of this diff.
Yeah. Right there.
Right there, exactly. So there you can see it. You can see it also in the Docker compose.
Okay.
And in the README, I think.
Okay.
That makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it took me some time to understand why I couldn't see any job running. It was just because of that.
Yeah, I was taking a look at the documentation for Sidekick. Seems like it's missing a lot of stuff in
there. You were checking out the documentation of Sidekick, and you think there's a lot of things.
I think it could be better, right? There's probably a lot of documentation that can be better, but
yeah,
I was just surprised.
Documentation is pretty comprehensive, I would say.
Good. Okay.
It was not just like finding the right page. Explaining it to me was a little bit difficult. So
okay,
it was just many documentation pages, and I couldn't find the right one, especially since Action Mailer is default Rails, and the maintainer of Sidekick just wants you to not use, for example, active job queue or actual mailer queues.
Yeah.
He's just asking you to stick with Sidekick only. But actually, I would like to use the built-in the built-in methods provided by Rails, if possible.
Yeah.
That explains also why we have two folders in app: workers and jobs. Jobs is the default folder for active job. Workers is the default folder for Sidekick. And there's one Sidekick job or worker, as you wish, where we need Sidekick specific configurations. And that's why we have it. Otherwise, we could just stick to active job. Do you know what active job is, Nick?
I've heard of it. Yeah. Yeah, I've read the documentation a little bit, but I've never really used it.
Yeah, it's a Rails way of sending out asynchronous tasks, and there are many providers for it. One of it could be Sidekick, but you can also have I don't know the names of the others, but I think there are 3 or 4 different providers that you can use, and active jobs is supposed to be some kind of common language.
Okay.
Right? So you should not have a vendor login. You could exchange the how do you call it? Job processing library. You can exchange that, and it should still work if you just use active job functionalities. Right? That's also my that's also why I'm intentionally using active job, not anything Sidekick specific, because I want to keep the vendor login at the minimum.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, but that was it. You had to configure Sidekick to use the mailer queue. And there were a couple of other things. I don't know. Maybe you can just scroll down a little bit. Yeah, that was broadcast save. Oh yeah, I moved that from the default mailer into the user mailer because it's accessing the add user instance variable, which is nil in the default mailer. Also, here you can see the, I don't know why these changes got into this pull request, but you see this if geocoder config API key blank, return. That should be the fix for Sidekick barraging the terminal.
Okay.
Right. So we have IP stack, which is doing geolocation for us. And if it doesn't have an API key, it's trying to send out, it's always crashing.
Right.
And Sidekick is retrying it over and over again. That creates a lot of log output.
Okay. Yeah, I saw there was a bunch of there's a bunch of looks like a bunch of commits got pulled into here.
Yeah, I don't know why, because actually, if you rebase, and I did a rebase, this should not be in the pull request.
Right.
Or maybe I forgot to rebase. I don't know. Yeah, probably I just forgot to rebase. That should minimize the history of it. Shall I do the rebase now, and you can see the difference?
Yeah, sure.
All right. I can show you what's going on. You can keep your screen sharing online. I will also share my screen now. So the thing is, you just go into your repository. There are some files shouldn't be there. It's a database dump. And I can revert that. Now it's clean. And I can say git checkout. Yeah. I will git pull for just to be sure. Okay, that's fine. Now I'm up to date. And I can say git rebase origin/master. And then all those commits should the geocoder config commits are already merged into master. So when I rebase on origin master, those commits should not be visible anymore in the log. Okay.
Right.
Okay, this is it. Of course, I touched the commits now. Okay, here's origin master.
Okay.
And here's are the commits by faith. And since I changed the commits, right? I changed the history. I am now the committer, and she's the author.
Oh, okay.
Right. So when I push it, I have to say git push origin and then force, which will override the existing commits.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now let's go back to the pull request. Yeah, and now you can see that there are two avatars here. We have the committer and the author.
Okay.
Laugh, cry, and speak out loud. Is it her? Oh, okay, it's just a description of herself. Okay, but you can see those two names here.
Mm-hmm.
And the files changed have decreased, so we don't see anything related to IP stack. Well, this is related to IP stack, but that's okay. You don't see the fix anymore. Okay, does it make sense?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, I'll stop my screen sharing again. Oh, and we have, of course, we have to tell Faith. Faith, we just rebased pull request. Please update your local branch. Right. So whenever you override the upstream branch, you should tell all your team members that something has changed on the upstream branch and ask them to reset their local changes to the upstream branch, the current upstream branch now. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because you forced it over and it changes that hash number, the commit history.
Exactly. And now in this pull request, I think I left a couple of RSpec tests that can be implemented. And after that, we should be able to merge those changes in.
Oh, okay.
You are, by the way, very welcome to take a stab on it and try it out. So here we have now the different configuration setting for the mailer. It has SMTP settings now, and this environment variable SMTP host is from Docker Compose. Okay, we set the SMTP host in Docker Compose, and suddenly you can send emails even in development environment. They will be delivered to this Mailhawk service. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Maybe you can check out the Docker Compose. That should make things clear. And there's Faith. Hi, Faith. She just joined us. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Unfortunately, I missed that we had this time shift, the shift in the time zone. And so I was thinking it's the 3 p.m. UTC, not 4. So it's actually 1 hour later. Germany has switched the time zone on the weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But, okay. Because of the daylight saving, right?
Yeah. Do they call it daylight saving time?
I don't know, but earlier this year, it was called daylight saving. I don't know if it's still called daylight saving at this time of the year.
Yeah. Yeah, we
Yeah.
switched from Central European summertime to Central European time, and it's always 1 hour. They switch from like 1 hour and to and from. That's
Okay.
why.
No, it actually worked perfect because I was in the Med Plus sprint.
Ah, nice. Okay, you're coming from one meeting to another. I see.
Yeah.
Okay, we were just discussing this the changes that I did to the pull request. I reverted some of your changes. You used letter opener, right?
Yeah.
And I choose Mailhawk simply because it has less dependencies. We don't have to touch the existing Rails code base. We just have this other service that you can run with Docker Compose, and then Mailhawk just starts. It intercepts all emails that you try to send with it, and in our backend we can tell use these mail settings, but send it to Mailhawk instead. That's it. We don't have to change anything. No GAMs, no dependencies, no nothing. It just works. And I would prefer that solution because I think letter openers for all the people who don't use Docker, and Mailhawk is the perfect solution if you already have a Docker setup.
Okay.
Does it make sense?
Yes. So if I don't have a Docker setup, I could still use this, right?
Oh yeah, if you don't use Docker, then you could use letter opener. But right now I just removed letter opener because it's changing the Rails part, the code for the Rails part, right? So without Docker, it would not be possible to send emails and intercept emails. You could, however, install mail catcher gem if you want to have the same behavior on your machine. Have you seen mail catcher?
No, but I think I've heard about it.
It's a gem. You install it locally, and it will intercept all emails that you try to send to your local host. So there's these SMTP settings. SMTP is short for Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, and it takes a host, username, and password. And then for example, you can have your local mail server, which sends out mails. Usually on your laptop, you don't have a local mail server, right? Mail servers are usually run remotely. Nicholas.
Oh, yeah.
I was interested in what are you searching?
I was searching. I was just thinking. I don't know. Have you seen that TV show, Mr. Robot?
No.
I have.
Yeah, it's a great TV show about like a hacker. It's a hacker TV show. I was just thinking. Oh no, you kind of look like this guy.
Me?
Oh.
It's just the hair. The hair.
Yeah, if you had the same hair, then could be better.
Maybe because I'm also a little bit close to the laptop, and the laptop is white. The white light is lighting my face a little bit, just as in this picture. Yeah.
I'll be back. I need to rush to the washroom.
Oh, of course, no problem. You had a lot of meetings. Feel free to drop out for a minute. Yeah, but that's the thing here. So, Nick, you can see in the Docker Compose that we are using we are setting the SMTP host variable. There's another Docker Compose, by the way, this overrides thing. So here, this is the syntax for configuring SMTP host from your environment variable. If you scroll up a little bit, you should get to the docker compose.override.yaml. And this one, this has SMTP host equals Mailhawk. So the backend, the backend will try to connect with Mailhawk service. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Exactly. and then you can send out mails, and those should be able to be those should be visible in the browser, because Mailhawk also starts a web server that shows all the delivered mails to you.
Okay.
Does it make sense?
Yeah, so you're only using, yes, you got Docker components. So yeah, you're overriding. So these are variables to override your Docker setup?
Yeah, kind of. Docker Compose by default will read in docker compose.yaml and docker compose.override.yaml. It's a naming convention.
So these are all the things you override, and you're overriding your SMTP host with Mailhawk.
Exactly. These are the overrides for your development environment, and this docker compose.staging.yaml is not read. But if you don't want to have your local mail server, but you want to use a different one, then you could use, for example, this docker staging YAML configuration and set it with an environment variable from your host system.
Okay.
Right? You can simulate different environments. You can simulate your local development environment. You just want to see the mails, but you can also get a very close to production environment with other Docker Compose files. That's possible. Yeah, and here you can see the different RSpec tests which I edited. So the idea that I had was, okay, you want a mail, the mail should be translated, and what you see here, for example, is sidekick queues. Oh yeah, so we have different users now. We have our normal contributors, but then we have moderators and administrators. Administrators are set manually. There's currently one administrator, which is my user account. And we want to have a couple of moderators. This is just an attribute in the database. And my idea was to make somebody a moderator as soon as you created your first broadcast. When you create your first broadcast, you are a moderator. Okay?
Okay.
Fair enough, I would say. And each moderator should be notified when somebody creates a broadcast. So that's what I'm checking here. You see, I'm creating a list, for example, 5 users with the role moderator, and I'm expecting when I have this action that a broadcast is created, that should increase the sidekick queue from 0 to 10, which is exactly the number of created users. Does that make sense?
Yeah. That makes sense. Why would the so someone creates a broadcast, they become a moderator. And then if someone creates another broadcast, all the moderators are going to get emailed? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. And on line number 202, you see the test for it. As a contributor, when you create a broadcast, you immediately turn into a moderator. All right?
So you also get an email.
Yeah, well, you can. That's actually, I didn't, I thought about it, but I didn't put it in the test. It would make sense that you don't get an email for your own created broadcast.
Yeah.
So you can make sure that you you send it to all moderators, excluding the author of the broadcast. That would make sense, no?
Yeah, it will.
And I mean, it would I think the test as it is right now should be okay, because it says you create a list of 2, for example, admins, and then you have 2 mails sent out. In the database, there will be 3 users, 2 admins and the author. But we are expecting 2 mails sent. Okay? It's line 197 to 199. Yeah. Does it make sense? Can you see it, Faith?
Yeah. So we have 0 to 2. Who are the 2 admins?
They're just random users created.
Okay.
They're just in the database and they have the role admin.
Okay.
And then this action is something like a request made to the backend, which creates a broadcast. Right?
Okay.
Some users creating a broadcast. And we had 2 admins in the database. Then we are expecting 2 mails.
Most of them. Yeah.
Does it make sense?
Yeah.
I would say just send out a mail to all moderators and all admins for now. I also provided a database migration, which should turn all current authors of a broadcast into a moderator. So when we deploy this pull request, the migrations will create moderators, and that's it. Okay, so that is already implemented. The only thing that's not yet implemented are these tests here.
And this is what if I was to make the test pass, this is what I was expected to implement, right?
Yeah, exactly. I put in some time on Saturday to guide you in the right direction.
That's fine. Okay.
So how many mails should be sent out? Who's going to receive it? How are new moderators created? Okay, so I put in some tests that check that we turn a contributor into a moderator when he's creating broadcasts. I tested some permissions, and I don't know what else. Oh yeah, and the mail itself. So the subject should be translated. The email body should contain a link where somebody can edit the broadcast. That would be awesome, right? You just tell him, hey, there's a new broadcast created. Check out this link in order to check if this is spam or, I don't know, nonsense.
Okay.
Right? When you receive the mail, you can just click on the link and you get redirected to the page where you can edit the broadcast for convenience. That's in another test case. Maybe, Nick, do you want to check that out?
Yeah.
Would you be interested to pair with Faith on that pull request, Nick?
Oh, yeah, I'm always interested to pair. If Faith wants me to pair.
Of course.
I think that's a nice issue for both of you. Nicholas has no experience with Docker, and you will need Docker in order to install Mailhawk. That will be interesting for you. And I think you also have a little experience with ActionMailer, but getting all these things wired up I think this will be very interesting for you, and you will learn a lot. Also, how you can translate emails and things like that. Okay. You should see a backend test for the mail. Maybe search for _spec. There's it, user mailer spec. So here you see that we set in line number 6 to 10. This is, by the way, how you set this whodunit flag. So this is how you create given a moderator. Actually, that's not even necessary. You could remove line 6 to 10. Why is it still there? It's not necessary, because we create the moderator on line number 5 by just assigning it the role moderator. We don't need to run. I will do that for now. Hang on a second.
Something
I forgot. So probably before I tried to make the moderator a moderator by letting him create a broadcast, but that's not necessary anymore. A cleaner solution is to just give assign the role moderator in this test. I just remove that. Moderator. Yeah. Okay. Remove unnecessary code. Should be okay for now. Yeah, and Faith, we rebased the branch, so you will probably want to reset your local changes to it.
Yeah.
So if you refresh now, the page is out of date. If you click refresh, the line should be gone. Yeah.
Okay.
Also, line number 9 to 13 is not really relevant, but it's okay. I thought if we want to include the name of the person who created the broadcast, but I think that's not necessary. It's just relevant for you that, okay, there was a broadcast, blah, 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 that was created. Here's the link. Please check. Okay. It's not really relevant to include the name of the person who did it. So here we have two users: the moderator, the person who's getting, who will receive the mail, and we have the person troll on line number 8. This is the person who's creating the broadcast. Does it make sense? Compare line number 5 and line number 8. Maybe you can you highlight the code?
And so line 5.
That's line number 5. So here we have the moderator, which has just a role moderator. That's it. And then we have line number 8. This is our troll user. And this troll user can just create a broadcast. That's our database setup for the test. And then we say on line number 15, that's like our subject in a way. Let user mail ask for spam check. We give it the idea of the broadcast. The name of the broadcast here is called spam. And the moderator ID, that's the recipient. Do we pronounce it correctly, Nicholas? Recipient?
Yeah, perfect. Better than I can.
Exactly, and that's it. And then you expect, first of all, the mail is sent. Then you check the body of the mail. The body of the mail should include the title. The title of the broadcast is "This broadcast is just spam," quote unquote. So here you see that the title should be in there. And if you change the locale of the moderator on line number 27, so that's the preferred language, then the email should also be translated to that language. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think further down you see some examples in German. Oh yeah, and that's also another thing. We want to have on line number 41, that's something I really like when I receive mails. We have something like square brackets and then a name of some application. So it's easy for you to create filter rules for it. So for example, when GitHub sends you a mail, you have square brackets and then GitHub. So you can create a filter rule for GitHub. Does it make sense?
Okay.
No.
No. Do you receive notifications from GitHub, Faith?
Yes, in my email, yes.
And did you notice that the subject usually has the name of the repository?
Let me just check. Yes. Yeah.
Now you understand, right?
Yeah.
So when we send emails, on a regular basis, we want to make life a little bit easier for people by having this. How do you call it? Is there a specific name for that thing?
Square brackets.
That's the character, yeah, but you know what I mean? The purpose, like filter thing,
Oh,
filter whatever, filter subject or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I
this
see
is
what you're getting at. Yeah.
Yeah, but you get the point, okay?
Right.
And similar, we have users who don't have a preferred language. Then the email should be in German by default, because we can expect most of your users speak German. And if, what's that? Oh yeah, that's just a test for the subject. So line number 54 is checking the subject. Line number 31 is checking the mail body. Yeah, and this is it. Okay, is everything clear so far?
Yeah. Where's the body again? Line?
There's a block for the body. Line number 21 to 33 is checking the body. It should mention the title. It should translate.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Oh, there's an error. User prefers English. Okay, there's another error. This should be in the context block. Okay. Fix test. I will fix that for you. Fix RSpec test. Test case inside context block. So sometimes if the tests are not passing, it could also be that I made a mistake when I when I wrote down the RSpec test. So now if you refresh the page, you should see the change.
Yeah.
Can
you refresh the page maybe, Nick?
Yeah, I did. There it goes
now
again.
The translate is inside this context block, like 26. If the user prefers English, then it translates.
Okay.
What would happen if we don't have it in the context block?
Mm-hmm. Huh.
Faith? So the line number 27 is the before block, and the before block is valid within a describe or within a context block.
Okay.
So this is part of the database setup for the test case, line number 29. So what would happen is you implement everything, but the test doesn't pass. The test doesn't turn green. But that's what we want. We want if you translate the email based on the language, based on the preferred language, this is the expected behavior, but the test wouldn't pass, right? Because the before block is the test case is not inside this block where we change the preferred language, right?
So that's before, if we didn't have the context block.
Yeah, so before line number 29 is executed, like this test, it translates, it will run 27. If you don't have Yeah, Matt is here. Hi, Matt.
Sorry, I'm late.
How are you doing?
Faith was keeping me another pairing session.
Yeah, I heard you had you had a pairing session just before.
Yeah, I forgot that you had sent a message there about changing the time, but
yeah, we were just in the middle of explaining this pull request I was working on Saturday. I did all the setup and configuration part on the Sidekick side, Docker side, and mail side. Okay, but this is the pull request is about sending mails on a regular basis, and I left some backend specs that you can implement and learn a lot of things. So how do we translate emails? How can we translate the subject of the email? How can we change the permissions of a user? So for now, we want to send emails to everyone who ever created a broadcast. We call this a moderator. Everyone who ever created a broadcast is a moderator. Everyone who will create a broadcast in the future is becoming a moderator. And that's also covered by a test case. This should turn green as soon as you implement the behavior.
Nice, love it.
Yeah, and I just fixed the test here. This test on line number 29 wouldn't succeed if Faith or you or Nick would implement the behavior. The test case 29 was outside of the context block where we set the preferred language of the moderator, of the user who's getting the mail. So it wouldn't be valid for the test case. It wouldn't run before this test case. If you put this before block and the test case in one context block, this works, but the test case was accidentally put outside of the context block. All right, I just fixed that.
Cool. Yeah. I saw a comment about updating the. Yeah, cool.
Exactly. So, but yeah, if that happens, sometimes I'm not implementing the behavior, so I'm just imagining that the test will succeed as soon as you implement the behavior. But of course, there can be mistakes in the tests. Feel free to fix them. Right. So if that happens, probably you can see from the code what the intention was, and maybe you can see the error, and then feel free just to fix it.
Nice.
All right. Well, this is it about this pull request, I would say. This was my work on Saturday. I hope you have everything to get started on that feature now. What about you then, Faith, Matt, or Nicholas? Any questions from your side? Anything that you were working on where you need help? Faith, let's start with you.
Okay. So this one was last.
The rake task. You were working on the rake tasks.
Yeah. So part of what I worked on was the task you're on, but I didn't get the chance to look at the tasks that were failing.
Yeah.
But I did spend some time to look at this Robocop RSpec and rake task. We've been having a challenge finding a convenient time to pair with Lindsay because she's so busy at work and I've also been busy. But we're still trying to find a convenient time for both of us to pair. So we haven't done this, but we'll still do that sometime.
Yeah, I mean, it's up to you who are you going to ask for pair programming. I was thinking of Lindsay because she wants to become a product manager. And since you want to use rake tasks on our build server, that might be interesting for her because build servers will be interesting for her. She probably doesn't know anything about build servers. So that was the reason why I was thinking about how you can pair with anybody, or you can also pair with nobody if you want. Don't worry about it. It was just a suggestion.
Yeah. The idea is great because I also don't know so much about build server, and pairing with somebody like Lindsay would mean that I need to at least know enough to give her direction. So
Yeah, exactly. Also, on the list that I put together, I suggested to her that she do some research, right? So she, as a product manager, wouldn't do anything related to coding. You would just do a lot of research and improve the development process and so on.
Okay.
And there's a lot to improve. I also investigated a lot of time to understand some development processes now. For another project, we're probably going to use OKRs. I don't know if you have ever used if you've ever heard about them. But I also suggested Lindsay that she should give it a check. OKR. It's an abbreviation. Yeah. Objective Key Results.
Oh, okay.
Exactly. So that's something that might be interesting for her and for you, of course. And feel free to implement the rake task also in the Traverse YAML. Did you do that already?
No, because I thought this was the instruction that was supposed to follow, but I don't know what happened. I'm not so sure why I didn't. Oh, it's because the test took took me a while before I could the test. But I just ended up and did this to check that this part exists and has these 3 tasks. And then I didn't use what you had suggested. You'd suggested no, that was something else. But that's fine.
Test and analysis is fine. Okay. I was just suggesting the namespace build to indicate these are tasks that we can run on our build server.
Okay.
Right? Test and analyze is fine. Yeah, it's the wrapper of for a build server. Yeah, just make sure that all the steps are executed, and if anything fails, that should also fail the build server. What we don't want is a build server that fails silently, right?
Okay. Yeah.
That's very, very important. I don't care so much how you're going to run it, but it should not fail silently.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. So I did
exactly. That's very important.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Yeah, you can continue on that one and implement or put that in the Traverse YAML. And you can, of course, work on the pull request that I contributed to.
Okay, the mail.
The mail thing, exactly.
Okay, that's perfect.
And you can pair together with Nick if he's interested.
Yes.
He's smiling already. And you're smiling too. Great. Okay. Well, shall we continue with Matt, maybe?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have much to report. I mean, yeah, like I was reflecting on that, you know. This week we've been doing Mat Plus, so I've been doing that, and I guess the last thing I was doing was last week, which I've already kind of reported on because it was on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of last week. We're pairing with Faith on the pull request she put in for the assessment that she did. That I think went really well, so really happy about that.
And you had a pull request for an assessment, Faith.
Yeah, I had to pick an issue.
What kind of assessment was it?
It's a work assessment. They needed to confirm that I'm at the level they need me to be.
Yeah. So they ask you to implement some kind of task of another repository.
Yes. So
what's the name of the repository?
Rundfunk.
No, really?
Yeah, it's the same notification task.
Wow. Okay, I didn't know about that. So who was doing the assessment with you and asked you to do an issue on Rundfunk mitbestimmen?
So it's
on who? On who? Who? What? Are you... Can you say that again, Robert? I didn't understand what you said.
So, as far as I understand it, you were doing an assessment, Faith, for some kind of company. This company asked you to implement a task. This task was from the repository Rundfunk mitbestimmen.
Yes.
Can you say that 10 times fast, Matt?
That's not what I understood. I understood that you're working with a company that asked you to do an assessment, and the repo that you're working on was Rundfunk mitbestimmen.
Well done.
Am I correct, or is Robert correct?
The pronunciation is perfect.
Yeah, Robert. So you didn't? I thought you knew about that.
No, I didn't.
I think that's amazing. Like, by the way, like, how cool is it to work for a company that's like lets you work on open source projects as part of your assessment? Like, that's
absolutely
amazing.
That's awesome. That's some. What company is it, if I may ask?
It's Andela.
Andela?
Yeah, it's called Andela.
Can you type it in the chat, maybe?
Like Mandela.
Mandela. Well, Mandela Incorporated or something. So I'm going to type in Mandela into my search engine. I will probably find a lot of references to Nelson.
Andela. So remove the
Nice. Andela invests in Africa talented software developers. Cool. Join Andela. About. Cool. Very interesting. Okay. Well, back to topic, Matt. So on with you.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess like I mean, instead of maybe giving my report that I gave last week, I don't have any updates. I don't like to miss the meetings, even because I feel like I thought to myself, like, is there any point of going to the meeting because I haven't actually done anything, and then I need to, like, you know, be like, I haven't done anything, and I'm like, well, you know, I potentially want something to work on, you know, but then also as well, like, I really like coming to these meetings because even when it's not about like what we've done and what we're gonna do, like you seem, Robert, to always like teach us something in the meeting, which is I think, you know, good on you for that. That's something I really like about the RFM meetings. And so yeah, I just stop by to really hang out with my friends, you
know. Yes, thank you. You should definitely join this meeting, even if you haven't done anything. The other way would mean people drop out because they feel bad about not having done anything, right? That should not be the case. I advise you to always join us. It should be no problem if you didn't have the time to contribute. This is a volunteer-based project. There's no obligation. There's no commitment. Everything you do on your own. So don't worry about that. You should not feel bad about it. You should feel great for everything that you do, but not feel bad about anything that you don't do. Okay?
Yeah. Amazing. I know.
Yeah. And I think, I know that, you know, but it's still, you know, I think for me at least, and I think for other people probably as well, it's like just the pressure we put on ourselves, you know, not that like like you or anyone else puts that pressure on. It's just like you know.
I know the feeling. You put pressure on yourself.
And also, like, it's, you know, I mean, not to hijack the meeting to talk about personal things, but like we're going through a kind of a weird time in Brazil right now, where like the country just voted for like a candidate who openly supporting of military dictatorships. And like, it's kind of a scary time with not knowing what this candidate's going to do when he takes office. And I've been trying to support this other, I don't know if you've heard of Briar. It's a open source secure messaging. It doesn't like send your metadata to people. And so I've been working on like doing well, it's turned into a React chat client so people can use it on their computers to send like it's encrypted, but you know, on top of that, it's like doesn't send your metadata, which like WhatsApp does, you know, and you can also like use it if you don't have internet access. So I've been working a little bit on that, and yeah, but anyways, like I particularly like that you put up an issue that like I really like it when we have tests that help drive the development of features, because it makes it and you've done that before, but Sam does that sometimes, and that I like to write my own tests as well, but you know, if you're looking for something that's like ready to work on and you don't have to like grapple so long with like trying to understand the code base, you can just like grab it and it's like a failing test and read the failing test and go like implement it and go getting them passing one by one. And that's so I don't know. I'll hopefully get a chance to pair on that with somebody between now and the next meeting.
Yeah, and by the way, there's still the task of the seed data that's missing.
Oh yeah,
I think so.
I thought he put in a PR about that.
On that. And I'm very sorry for your new prime minister. I don't know him. I just read it from the news, and it also scared me a little bit. Regarding secure messaging, I would advise you to use Signal, but I think Signal also sends metadata. I'm not quite sure, but at least the text messages are encrypted very well.
Yeah,
and you can also use secret chats. So you have the normal chat in Telegram, and you can have secret chats in Telegram.
Yeah,
it's also a special feature.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the main difference is like, yeah, the metadata, which can be an issue, and also like the fact that you need internet to use those ones. Whereas like if you're, you know, if you can imagine like pro-democracy protesters, for example, on the streets, like one of the things that they talked about doing in when they had the Olympics here was like cutting off like or blocking internet so people couldn't organize like protests on the streets, you know. And so if they were to do something like that, then like with this, you would still be able to communicate with the people that you need to, you know, make sure are safe and still organize instead of just like shutting you down. I mean, you know, the thing that we're doing, like with the desktop stuff, potentially wouldn't, you know, you wouldn't be running around with your laptop, like, you know, protesting, but and the phone stuff is already kind of like, you know, they have to, you know, developers, including a friend of mine who's German as well. And so, but anyways, just, I don't know. I mean, it's probably just to make myself feel better about the situation, but it feels nice to be able to try to do something that I feel like, because, you know, you can feel really helpless when something like this happens and you're like, you know, what can we do, really?
Yeah. My family I think is waiting for me, so I think I have to drop out. However, I think, Faith, you are assigned with a couple of tasks. Matt, I think you know what you could do if you want to work on RFM besides the messaging that you want to work on. Nick, anything from that you want to ask me? Because otherwise I will probably leave this meeting. I mean, you can still...
I'm good. Yeah, I got one task to work on, so I'm good.
All right. So as far as I know, broadcasting open, leave the meeting. As soon as everybody has left, Faith already left. As soon as everybody has left, the meeting the broadcasting should stop on its own. Right?
Yeah, I think it waits like 5 minutes or 10 minutes after you leave, and then it stops broadcasting unless somebody like logs in, you know, as with permissions to broadcast for you. But like the other thing we can do is as well as we can always, like, if we're going to pair directly after this, we can put a new, like, set up a new hangout and then broadcast so that doesn't happen.
Exactly. So you can feel free to talk more. I would be very interested into the political situation in Brazil, especially since you're affected directly. But let's do that maybe for another day.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So then I will say goodbye, and we see each other either in a pair programming or next week.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. See you soon. Yeah. So hey, Nick.
Hey.